I've been working on and off on the side project behind me for a while now, but in the past few days it's really started to kind of come together. So I thought I'd share a kind of quick overview video of it and what it is and how it's put up. The idea for this light came about when I was working on another project earlier in the year. I strung up a single kind of row of RGB LEDs and had like a single dot of light chasing along it. I thought that looked quite cool on its own, so I decided to kind of get a few strips and connect them together, so maybe have a few dots kind of moving around. That then progressed into a kind of a big bunch which was kind of draped out along the floor, with these kind of pixels or dots kind of raining down from one end to the other. Then that slowly progressed to adding mounting onto a board, and I finally kind of come up with a nice kind of acrylic frame for it. With the cover removed, you can see how this is constructed. There are 8 rows of WS2812 LEDs. Each row is about 2 meters long, and there's 124 LEDs per row. And so it makes for a decent number of LEDs to work with, and I've suddenly hit some kind of power issues kind of driving at full brightness. When I started this project, I didn't have a plan at all. All I knew is that I wanted a few rows of LEDs to play around with. And so I kind of bought a few strips of LEDs, and it started out kind of 1.5 meters long with 6 rows, and then kind of went to 2 meters and then to 8 rows. Because obviously the more I had, the more it costs, and so I was quite reluctant to start spreading out. But as soon as I realised it looked quite good, I kind of kept adding to it. But because I didn't have a plan, it was the construction of this was kind of very kind of bit at a time. So the flat piece of wood behind, it was mounted to that before I knew how on earth it was going to kind of come together. The kind of front acrylic panel was then kind of attached or just rested on top, and I thought, okay, I can kind of put some sides in and make those sides kind of snugly fit with some wood glued on the back here. But despite kind of growing, kind of evolving like that, it does look quite good, I think. Looking at this end, you can see the kind of construction methods. The main front is just a single flat piece of acrylic, and I've got these kind of thin kind of spacer pieces running down the side, and then there's a white acrylic side attached. All these are solvent welded, but because of the number of joins you've got in there, it makes a pretty kind of rigid structure. I don't know how visible that's going to be at the bottom. You may be able to get an idea of how it mounts. So these side kind of thin rails just rest against the edge pieces here. So the LEDs don't actually touch the front. They're kind of supported away from it very slightly. Again, just increasing the amount of diffusion that's going on. I haven't decided what this is for yet. It's just a really kind of cool thing to make. And so I've been playing around with a few kind of effects and animations on it, but nothing set in stone because, like I say, I don't know what it's for. The original one which kind of inspired me to build this is effectively kind of a falling rain, which is mostly what you're seeing. This idea of a pixel kind of falling to the ground with a little bit of variance. So they all have slightly variable speed, slightly variable colour, and they kind of pick random channels each time. And so which creates for this kind of really nice effect that runs through. What I've been working on today is the idea of each row of pixels filling up, which is why it starts to fill up green. So as soon as a pixel hits the bottom, it fills up and it kind of slowly increases in height. But it's generated quite an interesting side effect. At any one time, there's a fixed number of pixels in play. For this particular animation, there's 30. There's always 30 pixels moving on the screen. And so that means when it starts to fill up, there's a smaller and smaller available space for those pixels to be working in. So you end up getting kind of denser and denser as the screen kind of fills up. Then as soon as one hits the top, it all shatters and falls down. And that generates that effect. That's 30 pixels all grouped into a small area, being free to fall to the ground at once. It's like something's burst and they've all fallen down. I'm not really sure what's next for this project. There's a few more little bits and pieces to go on, a bit of frame to tidy up, but nothing particularly significant. So unless I come up with any really cool ideas, this is probably going to be the last video.